This presentation is being broadcasted in listen-only mode. You can ask questions by typing them into the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel on the side of your screen, and we will address your questions throughout the presentation. And at the end of the broadcast, when you exit GoToWebinar, you will be prompted to fill out a short 3-question survey. We ask that you take a few moments to provide us with some feedback. Also, everyone that attends today will receive a certificate of attendance and a link to the recording of this presentation. Matt, whenever you're ready, you can begin.
All right. Thank you very much, Joy. Yeah, as Joy mentioned, Scott Hacker, our civil solution engineer, is going to be joining us. He may have gotten tied up on a support call. We got him on double duty here today. So if you are typing in questions in the question panel, at least until he's online, they won't be getting answered. So, but if you go ahead and type them in, we'll answer all the questions at least at the end of the presentation. So appreciate everyone joining us here today. And as Joy mentioned, we're going to be covering the Autodesk Vault application in conjunction with Civil 3D and how it fits within that application and within that industry. The presentation here is going to be a mix of formats, some PowerPoint, some live demonstration, a couple of demonstration movies, and then the Q&A. So hopefully it'll be informative and keep it interesting here as we go. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Autodesk Vault product line, there are 3 different levels of Vault, and we want to touch on those here just for a second as we get started. Vault Basic is, as its name implies, a very simple or basic level of Vault that's actually included with a number of different Autodesk CAD applications. So some of you may already have Vault Basic even without specifically purchasing it. And it is designed for work-in-process data management for the CAD users. It does, however, from the standpoint of Civil 3D, have some limitations in that it does not work with the Civil 3D Project Navigator. So for the purposes of Civil 3D, Vault Workgroup or Vault Professional are probably the levels of the product that you would want to be looking at. And Workgroup and Professional have a whole host of other features, with Professional being the highest level and having the most features and capabilities. And Vault Professional is probably the most popular version for use with Civil 3D. One reason being that Vault Professional has multi-site replication, and we have seen improved ability to work on and collaborate on projects across multiple engineering offices as being probably the main driver and main justification for purchase of Vault, which kind of leads things to the Vault Professional level. Here's a chart that breaks things down a little bit further, and we'll be touching on a lot of these features as we go, so I'm not going to spend a lot of detail and time on this particular chart. But you can see as you go to higher levels of product, you get more and more features and functionality. Now, just a little background on some of the general features, capabilities, and pluses of Vault I want to run through before we get into the demonstration. Best in class Autodesk CAD integration. There's other products out there that will manage documents, will even manage CAD files, and some of them might do a good job on AutoCAD, but we're finding more and more as the CAD applications get more advanced and with more vertical applications, whether it's Civil 3D, AutoCAD Electrical, Autodesk Revit, just a whole host of other ones as you can see listed here. It's getting more and more difficult to integrate a data management system with these higher level CAD products. So that's where Vault really shines in that, like we talked about earlier, with Civil 3D and the Project Navigator, that takes some special features and functionality, and that's something that Vault Workgroup and Vault Professional can do, whereas other tools that are out there might not integrate with that feature at all. And here you can see integration inside of Civil 3D, where here in Civil 3D you've got your Vault ribbon available, and we'll see that live here a little bit later on. One of the big things with Vault, one of the features and functions, is facilitating teamwork and collaboration, and we're going to hit on that more with the multi-site replication across offices. However, one thing on this slide to keep in mind as we go through the presentation is that Vault isn't just for managing CAD files. It will manage any type of file. So any type of file you can store on your computer or might be incorporated into one of your projects, it can be managed in Vault as well. Finding data quickly, search, find, reuse, that's probably in the civil world that may not be as important as in other applications, since so much of your work is project-based, but that can be beneficial in some cases. Also, another thing to note on Vault is that Vault integrates with Autodesk Design Review through the automatic publication of DWF files. Whenever you check a new or updated CAD file into Vault, it's automatically published to DWF, which has full fidelity for both 2D and 3D, zooming, panning, measuring, markups, but it's only about 10% as large as the CAD file. It bundles everything into one file, so people without CAD, without a powerful computer, without any additional cost, can view your CAD files. The copy design is probably not a major feature in the civil area. One feature that is in the higher levels of Vault that's notated on this particular slide, which can be a benefit, is batch printing and batch plotting, which Vault Workgroup and Professional have. So at the end of a project, you can batch print all of the CAD drawings for a project. You can also include other file types as well, Word documents, PDFs. They can be in the batch. You can also select a folder, and it'll do all the files in a folder. And it's smart in that for each DWG file, there's probably a rendered DWF. The batch plotting can just automatically grab those since they've already been pre-formatted and pre-published and are a smaller file. Revision and release management is inherent in the higher levels of Vault. Now you can set up your revision management to be a standard numeric or letter-based system, alpha system. Or with Vault, you can also name your revisions based on project milestones, like 30% completion, 90% completion, and then have the ability to go back and access those older revisions and compare. Vault also includes workflow capabilities. So if you have CAD users in your office and then also project managers who need to review and sign off on their work, Vault can allow that to happen through document workflows, which can be set up and used with Vault. From an administration and configuration standpoint, we think Vault is simple and easy to do, especially as compared to other systems we work with. Vault runs on a standard Windows server, uses Microsoft SQL Server for its database backend. Vault will work with the free Microsoft SQL Express, which is nice. However, if you want to do multi-site replication, full Microsoft SQL Server is required. Sharing data outside the design group, a couple of things here, and this really relates to the Vault Professional level of the product. With Vault Pro, if there are people in your organization who just need search view print capabilities, they can use the free browser-based search view print client that's part of Vault, and you can see that's the larger graphic in the middle of the screen. Vault Pro will also integrate with Microsoft SharePoint, and finally Vault Pro will integrate with and includes licenses of Autodesk Buzzsaw. Buzzsaw, if you're not familiar with it, is Autodesk's cloud-based project collaboration tool for the AEC market. For each license of Vault Pro you purchase, you get one license of Autodesk Buzzsaw. And then those Buzzsaw licenses can be accessed by your clients, maybe other engineering firms you're working with, job sites, and Vault will automatically synchronize tool or files to Buzzsaw. So for instance, you can set up sync folders. Any new or updated files we drop in a certain Vault folder, it'll automatically sync them to Buzzsaw to a particular folder. Buzzsaw will then automatically send email notifications with document links to the other parties that are on that project. So then they get immediate notification and access to those files. If you're collaborating with another engineering firm, you can also set it up so that they can upload to a certain folder in Buzzsaw, which will then automatically synchronize to a certain folder in Vault, and then give your people notification that this other engineering firm has uploaded a new file and it's available for you. So it really allows you to collaborate on projects without anyone having to open up their company firewalls. And we'll see and talk about the Buzzsaw a little bit more here later on. Scalability for multiple sites and larger work groups. Probably the main thing here is the multiple sites, and I'm going to go into more detail on that here in just a second, but that really relates to the multi-site replication, where it allows you to work on projects across multiple offices as if the people were all just in the same office. And these last two features are really related to the manufacturing market. Vault is available as a tool across pretty much all of Autodesk's product line, whether it's engineering, architectural, manufacturing, and the release and change processes or change orders. That's a feature specifically designed for manufacturing, as is the coexisting with enterprise business system. So for this particular presentation, we're not going to spend time on either one of those. And then back to this chart, I think we hit on the pertinent items here. So a couple of other things I want to move into. We talked about really within the civil market, probably the Vault work group or Vault professional levels of the product being the foundation products that you'd want to use with Civil 3D. However, Autodesk also has a Vault Office software client. And the way Vault Office works is that if your company is using Workgrouper Pro and you have non-CAD users who need full access to Vault, instead of having to buy additional Workgroup or Pro licenses, which are more expensive, you can just obtain Vault Office licenses. So only your CAD users would need Workgrouper Pro. Your project managers or other office people would just need Vault Office. And Vault Office is only $500 per concurrent user. So it really allows you to spread the use and benefit of Vault completely throughout your organization at effectively less than $500 per person, since the licenses are floating. And this chart just shows the features where pretty much it's basically does everything for someone who's not a CAD user. And the Vault Office, you can still view CAD files, you can still mark up CAD files, you can still review and approve CAD files. Now, getting deeper into the multi-site replication, where it's generally been our experience that the multi-site replication has most often been the key reason that civil engineering firms chose to implement Vault. And that without something like Vault, it's very difficult to work on projects across multiple offices. I was at a civil engineering firm last week who's struggling with exactly that, where just using their networking to share files, they were finding that people at the different offices, as they tried to work on the same project, were getting outdated versions. Or if they all tried to pull from one central server, so they were working off the same copy, well, then that was very slow pulling the files across their wide area network. So with the Vault replication, it allows you to have a Vault server at each office. ADMS stands for Autodesk Data Management Server, which is your Vault server. So Vault server software installed at servers at both offices. The file store, that's actually the files that you're managing in Vault. So you can see in both offices, there's a replica of the file store. So that at Site 1 or Site 2, the other PCs that are off this server, they're just interacting with their local server, so it's fast. But then Vault is synchronizing the check-in and check-out status of the files and synchronizing any file changes or updates between the offices. So if a user at Site 2 checks out a file to make modifications, a user at Site 1 sees that that particular file is checked out and they can't make any conflicting changes. Then when the user at Site 2 checks in, the file is automatically synchronized back to Site 1. Or if a user at Site 1 tries to open a file that's been changed at Site 2 but not replicated yet, Vault knows that and tells the user they're about to open an outdated file. Do they want to replicate now, or what do they want to do? And then you can see here in this diagram, there's one SQL server at the main site. So it's one central database that manages all the file data or information. Now, if you get into more than 2 sites, Vault works in a hub and spoke type environment. So you have a main server, the other satellites would replicate to it, and then the main server would replicate back out to the other sites. Now, if we're working with any firms that have worldwide offices where their WAN connection might be slow, Vault also offers full replication, where it will also replicate. You can have a SQL server at each location and have the SQL data replicated as well. So it's flexible in that regard. And here's an example of setting up the replication. It runs under the Microsoft scheduler. Most people would say daily or a certain frequency. And this is the actual changes to the file. If somebody checks out a file, that's flagged immediately at all sites. But when the files are actually changed and the new files need to be distributed to the sites, that's done under the scheduler. But again, it's like we saw, if a file hasn't been replicated yet to a particular site, Vault knows that and tells the users. Here you can see in the Vault client, which we're going to see the Vault client here in just a second, the replication status is highlighted. And then here's an example of the screen when somebody goes to open a file that's out of date. It does give them the opportunity to replicate that file on demand. Selective replication is a biggie. The firm I was at last week, they've got a main office. So on their main server, all the files would be replicated. But then there's a particular satellite office. They're only working on certain projects. So they don't need the files replicated to that satellite office from every office. They only need the projects they're working on. So for instance, the main office is in Chicago, and then maybe St. Louis and Indianapolis were collaborating on a project. They would both have replicas of that file structure, but they wouldn't have replicas of projects that Chicago and Cincinnati were working on. Now, a little background on some companies that are already using Vault with Civil 3D, and I think you're generally going to see a theme here, I think, in that. Now, this is a company headquartered in New Jersey in the United States, full-service civil engineering firm with 14 regional offices. So again, their payback, they're using Vault Collaboration AEC, which has now been rolled into Vault Professional. With the multi-site replication, they're able to save thousands of man-hours over the course of a year from time it was spent to manually synchronizing files and managing that process. Also then balancing their staffing levels across multiple offices. Another civil engineering firm, actually multidiscipline architectural, doing architecture and civil in Maryland. Again, very similar. One thing they're doing is managing and distributing multiple client CAD standards across offices. So they're doing work for different clients, and those different clients have different standards. Well, their CAD manager can just put those CAD standards into the main Vault, and as they change, update them in the main Vault, and that where he knows they're automatically synchronized out to all the other offices, so they know everyone at every office is working off the same client standards. Again, another similar, I don't know if there's anything particular new on it. This particular, if someone makes a change to a file, their name is on it, which that's a big benefit of Vault, so they know, who actually made the change, who did the sign-off, all that's tracked with the audit trail. This particular organization, they're taking advantage of Buzzsaw and its integration with Vault. So Vault allows them to automate the collaboration process with subcontractors, architects, design consultants. When they update their local working files, Buzzsaw Sync automatically updates those to Buzzsaw, and then Project Sync replicates them down into Vault. So it's all a seamless process that way. And skip that one, and I think this is the last slide. Again, very similar. Again, collaborate effectively across multiple offices. At this point, I'm going to jump over to the Vault software itself so you can see the user interface. Files are organized in Vault in folders, just like they'd normally be with Windows Explorer. So we've got a folder, subfolder structure. Then when you click on a folder, it lists the files that are in that particular folder, and I can browse through some different folders. I've got a variety of different file types here. But you can see much more detailed information on these files. So if a file is locked and unavailable, you see that. If a file is in a work in process state, you see that. All these column headings are totally configurable. These properties or columns can be synced up to your drawing title blocks. So your drawing titles and descriptions or project numbers, sheet numbers, all that's in the CAD file. That can be automatically synchronized into Vault and then displayed here for information purposes, to search, sort, and so on. See, with Vault, you can access your revision history. So this particular file is revision B is work in progress. If I select it and then pick the history tab, I can see the other revisions and go back and view an old revision if I want to. If you're working with XREFs in AutoCAD, in this particular file, this could be a DWG file. If it's child XREF, then I can click the Where Used tab, and it shows me all the parent drawings that it's used in. Or if it's a multi-level XREF structure, I can follow that whole structure. Or if I should pick a file that's a parent drawing, I can see all of its child XREFs. If I go to a drawing, I can preview the drawing here. Keep trying that. Okay, this is acting weird on me. Let's go back over here. Yeah, there we go. So, if you have your drawings in there, you've got full preview capabilities. And again, this is for both CAD and non-CAD users. And if I hit view, I can bring that up full screen. You've also got the ability to zoom in, zoom out, print from right here, measure distances. And this is the viewing the DWF file created by Vault and then viewed in Autodesk Design Review. Now, if I right-click on a file, some of the common functions that I can do, of course, open the file, and then it'll ask me if I want to check it out. So do I want to open it read-only, or do I want to check it out to myself for making a modification? Of course, view it. I can also do a checkout from here. If the start of a project, I know I'm going to need to work on all these files. I could check them out all in one shot. I can also do a change state command. May not have, I don't have anything available here. Let's pop back here real quickly. So I could route a file from work in progress to for review. So here's where we can route CAD or other files around through various to various users for review and approval processes. And then other standard file management commands. So again, for someone to get in and use Vault, it's very, very little training at all because of its similarity to Windows Explorer. Then over here, I've got my property pane turned on. So here you can see all of the internal properties that are being tracked in the Vault database in regard to this file, or my user-defined properties. And these are all fully customizable. And a lot of times your user-defined properties will relate to the attributes that are in your AutoCAD title block. So they'll be mapped in and displayed here, searchable here, editable here. Now if I go over to AutoCAD itself, I can see the Vault ribbon that's inside of AutoCAD, inside of Civil 3D, inside of Microsoft Office. So instead of having to use the Vault client to do functions, I can do most of my document management work from inside AutoCAD. So, instead of finding files here and opening them, I can just hit the Open from Vault command here, and I can browse my Vault to find files that I want, and then open them read-only, or open and check out. I can also do searches from here, so I can search and retrieve files by their title block attributes or their Vault properties. Attach, so I can grab an XREF out of the Vault and attach it to my current file. I can check in, check out from the Vault, or do change state and route files through their workflow. So if I'm done with a file, I can actually route it from work in progress to review right from here. And then the different CAD applications will expand on this interface depending on their particular features and functions. So one thing we wanted to look at, I've got a little demo movie here. It'll show a little bit more of the integration within Civil 3D and specifically with the Project Navigator. So I'm going to start that right now.
Civil 3D utilizes Vault as a foundation to provide additional functionality to Civil 3D. Because it's built into Civil 3D, team members such as surveyors can access the Vault from a familiar ribbon interface and use the Civil 3D prospector to add their data to the project. This includes not only the drawing, but also intelligent object information such as surfaces, alignments, profiles, and pipe networks that exist within the drawing. Once added, additional team members such as engineers can access and reference the drawing along with its object data. After saving, the vaulted sheet set can then be updated and approved without ever leaving the Civil 3D environment. Users who wish to track their Civil 3D objects and see their relationship to parent and child files can do so through the standalone client, where they can be searched and the relationships can be reviewed. It's Vault combining data management capabilities with the design power of Civil 3D.
Yeah, that was just a quick little demo there, just showing some of the additional features and functions available to see the civil objects within Vault and so on. A couple of other things we want to get into here are the integration with Autodesk Buzzsaw. I'd say, you know, probably the three keys in the civil environment are, of course, the integration with Civil 3D, the multi-site replication, and then Buzzsaw and Buzzsaw integration for collaborating with outside parties. So we've got a quick movie which will show that a little bit further. Actually, grab the same movie again. Let's see. We'll go with this. Here we go.
This video will show you how to get started using Autodesk Buzzsaw Sync. Buzzsaw Sync allows you to automatically synchronize your project folders and subfolders from your local desktop to the Buzzsaw cloud. Now let's imagine I'm a project manager for a construction company working on a hospital project. My team is using Autodesk Buzzsaw to centrally manage and securely exchange all my project documents, models, and designs. Next, let's look at my local laptop. I'm going to set up a Buzzsaw Sync folder by entering my Buzzsaw site name, my username, and my password. I only need to enter this once when I am initially setting up my Buzzsaw Sync synchronization. I select my project, and then I will look and see which folders I would like to synchronize. As you can see, these are exactly the same folders that were on the Buzzsaw site. I'm going to select include all subfolders. So I'll get all my project information synchronized to my local system. I confirm that yes, I want to download those files from Buzzsaw, and now the synchronization begins. New folders are being automatically created on my local system that map exactly to the folders on Buzzsaw. And once I see the green check, I know that those files are in sync. Now, let's look at the other Buzzsaw Sync settings. First, here's the synchronization settings. I can choose to synchronize continuously, manually, or once a day at a specific time. Next, let's take a look at the other menu where I can remove a synchronization, update my login information, or get a quick view of my sync folders and navigate directly to those folders on my local system. And finally, we're going to look at a very important feature, the sync log. This log tracks every activity on all of my Buzzsaw sync folders, so I can quickly see when the last synchronization occurred, when files were downloaded, when files were uploaded, and I can also select a file to get more information if I need it. And finally, from the sync log, I can navigate directly to that file. So with Autodesk Buzzsaw Sync, project teams can securely synchronize, exchange, and access the project information on their local system without having to interrupt their workflow. To learn more, go to Autodesk.
Yeah, to clarify a little bit, the Buzzsaw Sync actually works the same between either Windows folders or folders in Vault. And the setup and the configuration is the same, and that's what that video was highlighting. So that covers the material that I had to show this morning. At this point, we can open it up for questions. And let me go to the question panel here, see if we have anything so far. And got a couple questions. First one is, can I import a DWF reviewed back into AutoCAD or Vault? If you have a DWF that's outside of Vault, you can just drag and drop it in to any folder in Vault, and it'll bring it in as a file that you can manage. If somebody takes a CAD file, of course, if you have a newer updated CAD file in Vault, it'll be published to DWF. So that DWF from Vault, rather than an outside DWF, can be marked up, and then that markup can be saved back in to Vault as well. So yeah, you can review a DWF in Vault. Can you check out a DWF file for review? Yeah, if the DWF is a separate file, in Vault, it can be routed through a workflow and so on. And then another question, will Buzzsaw Sync maintain data shortcut relations from Vault? I don't know on that one. I would have to check on that particular question for the answer there. I know Vault works with the Civil 3D data shortcuts. I'm not sure about how Buzzsaw Sync would affect that. I'm not for certain there.
Yeah, and I'm unsure as well.
Hey, oh, good, Scott.
Matt.
You arrived just in time.
I've been here. I don't, as far as the use of Buzzsaw there.
Yeah.
I know that, like you said, Vault for sure. I would think that it would work as long as you're downloading it from Buzzsaw to the appropriate location.
Okay.
So no changes in folder names, etc., or locations, and I think you would be fine as long as you keep the structure the same.
Okay. Other questions? Or waiting to see if any other questions come in. Joy, do you have any wrap-up comments on your end?
I do. I don't think, I think we're done on the comments. If we do have any more comments, just reply to the confirmation reminder email that you received from GoToWebinar, and that we'll get those and we'll route those to you know, Matt or Scott or whoever needs to see those. But thanks, Matt and Scott, and I think this concludes our broadcast. And as a reminder, everyone will be receiving an email that contains a link to the recording of today's presentation. And if you could take a few moments to answer the short survey, we'd sure appreciate it. And the survey will automatically appear when you close, when the session is closed. So I think we're done for today. Thanks, guys, and thanks for attending today's webcast, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.